I'm seeing it says live in the corner, so it's happening. Hey, there I am. All right. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the April 2019 Hank and John live stream. I am so overexposed and I do not know how to get this camera to behave normally.
Hi. How's it going?
Good.
Oh God. Okay, hold on.
Oh God. Well, that's a good start. He starts the live stream and he just says, "Oh God," and he walks away. I hope he's okay.
Sure.
I haven't talked to John since he got back from Sierra Leone, so I don't know how he's doing. Did you just
Not great.
Dr. Pepper, John?
No, I just got a Coke Zero. I'm doing okay. I don't feel great. It's a tough trip, man. I mean, it was hard. It was physically hard. It was emotionally devastating. It was it was hard. I mean, I've come back from it very, very motivated and with a great sense of purpose and a certainty about the work that Partners in Health is doing, a certainty about how transformative it can be, and a certainty about how underfunded it is. So, I mean, we saw, I'm sure we'll talk a lot about it, but we went to most of PIH's work is in the Kono district, which is the diamond mining district of Sierra Leone, which is the poorest region of the country, and the whole country is very, very, very poor. Like I've traveled elsewhere in the developing world, and it is poor, very, very poor. And I mean, Sierra Leone has by far the highest maternal mortality rate in the world. 1 in 17 Sierra Leonean women will die in pregnancy or childbirth. In this one district of about 515,000 people, 3,000 women will die in childbirth this year. In a comparable population size, even in poor countries, neighboring countries like Liberia or Guinea, instead of 3,000, that number would be closer to 400. So the maternal mortality rate is 8 or 9 times higher than what it is in neighboring countries, and it's 90 or 100 times higher than it should be, and than it needs to be. And so we were learning about why that is and what the challenges are and what the systems building looks like. And it was very inspiring. There are a lot of people who are doing really good work in really difficult circumstances. And, the other thing, and I've been thinking a lot about this, but like the whole notion that we've had for a long time that charity is an act, is like a gift. It's like that's wrong. I think it's an exchange. So I think it's an exchange of expertise. It's an exchange of compassion. It's an exchange, like thinking of it that way is much more helpful to me than thinking of it as a gift. Because in fact, like, I think we have a lot to learn from the way that healthcare is delivered in Sierra Leone. We have a lot to learn about, like, what's working in the US and Europe, but we also have a lot to learn about, like, what's not working. Like, why is there so much inequality in healthcare delivery in the United States? Well, the answer to that is complicated, but like one of the things, I think we have a lot to learn from a community health worker system where people who may not have like graduate degrees, but are experienced and well-trained, go out to at-risk people in their communities. They go and they see them 3 or 4 or 5 times a week, and they can reinforce, they can get healthcare directly to your door, and they can also reinforce learning. And like we went around with this one community health worker named Ruth, who so the first person she went to had HIV, and the HIV rate is very high, partly because during the Civil War, sexual assault was very, very common. And so we went to the house of one woman who has HIV, and Bruce said, are you taking your medication? Did you take your medication yesterday? So a very specific, actionable question, not like the vague, like what my psychiatrist says to me, are you taking your medication? Have you been taking your medication since in the 12 weeks since I last saw you? And I can be like, yeah, yeah. But if you say like, did you take your medication yesterday? It's not, it doesn't leave that like wiggle room open. I'm sorry to just be ranting about this, but I'm also, you guys, those of you who are watching, you need to know that I'm laying groundwork for Thursday afternoon when I'm going to ask Hank for a lot of money.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to get this presentation more than one time. Are you also working on a video right now?
Yeah, the video is not about this. It's about the psychiatric hospital, which Partners in Health also supports. And holy shit. I mean, it is a lot better than it was 2 years ago when most of the patients were chained to their beds most of the time.
Yeah.
And the beds were filthy, and there was no running water, and there was no electricity, and the toilets hadn't worked in 5 years, and it was horrible. And now it is a clean, safe, well-lighted space. Also, there was no medication. So like, I'll talk about this in my video tomorrow, but like, there would be all these like these like campaigns where they would be sent posters that would say like, end the practice of chaining is inhumane. And the clinicians and the staff like completely agreed. It's just that they had no medications. They had no support whatsoever. They had inadequate staffing. And like when patients were aggressive and they were a threat to themselves or to other people in a crumbling infrastructure where like, the stuff falling off the walls is a weapon, like, it can be very difficult to find solutions. Anyway, that's what my video tomorrow is about. But we were out with this community health worker, and she said to this woman, did you take your medication yesterday? And the woman said, no. And I was like, oh man, I mean, like if you have HIV, you got to take your antiretroviral therapy medication. Like, what could possibly be the problem? What could keep you from taking your medication? Well, it turns out the answer to this is that you have to take the medications at different times of the day. And some of the medications are very, very like hard on your stomach. Like they can cause you to throw up a lot or have really severe nausea. So you take them with food the way you do with a lot of medication. Except this woman didn't have anything to eat yesterday. And so she couldn't take them with food. And she knew from experience that if she took the medication, she would just throw it up. And she didn't want to throw up because, she didn't have a huge water supply and she hadn't eaten and she just didn't want to throw up. And like, I totally get that. And, so then the healthcare providers were like, well, we need to work on like getting you more food secure. But in the meantime, like, here's a workaround. If you put sugar in your water, it can make the nausea more palatable. So try that tomorrow and I'll be back tomorrow to see how that went. And like, that's missing from our healthcare system. Like somebody, people who go out into the community and say like, here's what you do in that situation. Like you can't get that kind of responsiveness. And you also like, you feel comfortable with a person who's in your community in a way you often don't feel comfortable with a doctor or a nurse practitioner. Right. So I don't know. Like I said, I think it's an exchange.
Are those people paid for that work?
Yeah. Yeah. Although, I mean, you want to talk about stretching a dollar. Like community health workers are paid. They are paid more than the Sierra Leonean minimum wage, but they are paid much, much less than, than I think that they than it's worth, because it's an amazing service. It's just there's such limited resources. So. Yeah, but they need more community health workers. They need strengthening of the system at every level, at the community health worker level, and then at the primary care level, and then at the hospital level, especially because right now there are so many people who are dying. There's so many women and kids who are dying because of unsafe delivery conditions, because yeah, I mean, it's just not adequate services. So it was really sobering. It was really it was tough. We cried a lot every day. But I was also keenly aware of the incredible privilege of like getting to drive away from that, and having a choice about whether to be close to that degree of suffering and crisis. So
It's always weird to come back, though.
oh yeah, it's very weird to be back, and like I don't really, yeah. I mean, I feel like I have a very difficult goal. Like I can't say how much money we need, but it's a lot. It's a lot. Like it's like more than I have, which is, too much. So yeah, I mean, I feel focused in that sense. I've just got to figure out how to get either a lot of people to give a medium amount of money, or a few people to give a lot of money, or both.
or ideally both of those things. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you go out on your own with Partners in Health? Yeah.
What does that mean?
We went with Partners in Health, and we were always with. I mean, look, I felt very safe. Sierra Leone has a low violent crime rate. At least official. I don't know. I don't really know what the details, but like I felt very, very safe the whole time I was there. I never felt in any danger. It was not that kind of hard, but like the accommodations weren't luxurious.
Yeah.
There are no really nice hotels, and as you know, like I love a nice hotel.
When I was in Haiti, I was surprised to find the sort of niceness of the hotel that we stayed in one of the nights. Most of the time we were staying in like on site, and so that was just sort of like the things that water.org had built there. But the nice hotel in Port-au-Prince is lovely, except that during the earthquake it was damaged, and so I dropped my chapstick one morning and it rolled away and into someone else's room.
Yeah. Our hotel in Freetown was very nice. Our hotel in Koidu Town in the Diamond District was basic, but I mean the staff was awesome. In fact, the hotel only has one TripAdvisor review, and it's a 5-star review, and like I agree. Like it like it's like I think the hotel is like $15 or $20 a night. It's it only has electricity for part of the day, but the staff was amazing. And like, I mean, you can't keep beer cold, right? Because like you don't have electricity all day. But I mean, the beer was they did a really good job of keeping the beer cold enough so that when I got home I could have a couple beers. Really appreciate it.
We've been fanning it all day for you. I don't.
No, the Sierra Leonean beer was what did somebody I was with called it wildly unpredictable in quality, which I found to be true.
Yeah, interesting. Not usually. That's one of the things that quality means if you work in food and drink is like
consistency.
Yeah.
There was not a lot of quality assurance.
It's more important to be consistent than to be good.
Yeah, that's the lesson of McDonald's.
Yeah. I mean, no matter where you're at, you know what McDonald's is going to taste like. There was a place in the small town in Haiti that we went to that sold cold drinks, and they had a propane powered refrigerator, which I didn't know was a thing that could happen, but and it always had a big crowd around it, and it was microfinance funded, and I was like, look at that. It turns out people want a cold Coke.
That's a good business.
Yeah.
We It was a tough trip, and now I'm a little sick and very tired.
Yeah.
Elena just saw someone walk past them wearing a Pizza John shirt on campus as they were watching, which is so cool. Like that can't happen very often. I've gone outside a lot and I've never seen anyone in a Pizza John shirt.
I've seen people in our merch. I've seen Pizza John shirts out there, and I usually walk up to the person and I'm like, "Hey," and they're like, "That's very strange."
Too weird. No, I would never confront someone in that situation. Pauline says, John, what can we do to help? Well, tomorrow when I make my first video, I'm gonna start a newsletter. Like this is so the model here is long-term solutions to long-term problems. Like one of the things I saw over and over again in Sierra Leone is when you make like vertical interventions, like when you make like a single intervention into a community or into a like the educational system or the healthcare system or the food supply system or whatever, it is not, it doesn't lead to systemic change, right? Like there's a lot of, there's a great Kurt Vonnegut quote, everybody wants to build. One of the flaws of the human character is that everybody wants to build and nobody wants to do maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
And so people will come in with a big idea. They'll supply bed nets, or they'll supply a generator, or they'll supply this or that. But A, they won't supply tools or like any way of maintenance. And B, a lot of times like they won't ask or listen before supplying the generator or whatever. So like the psychiatric hospital I visited had been given these 2 generators 10 years earlier, but they were much too large. And when they turned them on, it completely overpowered the power system and shorted everything out.
Yep.
Like,
you don't get to pick what generator you get. You get whatever one they give you.
Yeah, because they didn't ask, right? Like they didn't ask like, what kind of generator do you need? They had extra generators and they gave them the ones that they had.
Yep.
And so anyway, what Hank and I have been talking about for the last, because Hank and I have been working on this for over a year with Partners in Health, and what we've been talking about and learning about is how ongoing commitments, open-ended, ongoing, long-term commitments to improving systems can lead to systemic change. So, you know, like if you look at Rwanda, for instance, you know, Rwanda is not a perfectly governed country by any stretch of the imagination. It's quite authoritarian. I'm not like defending its governance, but Rwanda has seen the highest increase in life expectancy in the world over the last 15 years because of investments, partly from Partners in Health, in the system, in the healthcare system, in the food supply system even. And so that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be making a multi-year, like at least 5-year, but really open-ended commitment to improving the systems, the healthcare system in Sierra Leone. And that means working with the Ministry of Health. It also, and it means working with Partners in Health, and it means working with lots of other people. Sorry that the quality of my stream is so poor.
Yeah, you look terrible. We're used to it. You're usually pretty bad.
But my new internet is faster than the internet at Complexly Missoula.
That's what you're saying. But
speedtest.net says.
But the 28 pixels that I'm currently looking at disagree.
Yeah. I don't know what it is, Hank.
You do sound good. It's true.
Well, I'm glad I sound good. I feel like that's progress. So anyway, Pauline, what you can do to help is sign up for that newsletter. And then when the time comes, like we're going to ask people to join us in making multi-year gifts and making multi-year commitments, whether that's like, if you can afford $10 a month, if you can afford $1,000 a year, if you can afford $5 a year. But instead of thinking about it as a one-time gift, thinking about it as a multi-year commitment.
Yeah, and we I'm not entirely sure how we're going to set that up. But I think it would be cool for there to be a cool and interesting way of some kind. I also am going to sell a zine.
That's what's going to put us over.
It's going to be a very expensive zine. I'm just going to start selling very expensive zines, John.
Well, it's going to be like Yeah, the current strategy Hank and I have for doing this is to just start a lot of businesses that have a very
Got a really good
small.
business idea, John. I trust that the 100 people that are in this room. Can I tell you my good business idea?
Yeah.
So you know how you have framed things on your wall, and those are nice.
Yes.
And you know how it costs like $500 to frame something?
Yes.
What if there was like a store in the mall that you could plug
Hmm.
your phone into, and they had frames that were the sizes of things, and then you
Hmm.
could print out pictures you had taken that would fit into those frames. And instead of having to make the frame by scratch every time, you would get your thing framed into the frame that you want, and you get the picture you wanted printed out, and then they hand you the frame, and it costs less than $500.
It's a pretty good idea, actually. The only problem is that nobody has been to a mall in 7 years.
Well, I mean, you say that, but Missoula's mall is bustling. So I've got a good mall to start it in.
Um. Ah.
And it also wouldn't have to be in a mall. It's good to have it at a mall. Do they have that? Any people in the chat? Do they have that service other places? This person, Caleb says, isn't that Target? Do they have that at Target? Where they print it out and have a photo for you, have a frame for you?
It's a good idea. It's a good idea.
Why wouldn't they have that at Target?
I mean, maybe we can just sell it to Target and not have to do any of the work. I actually know some people at Target.
Know some of those Target folks, the big Target decision makers?
I do, actually. I had pizza with them when Turtles All the Way Down came out. When yeah, I mean, I guess like my interest is like flying back. Sarah and I were both like, we need millions of dollars very, very fast. And we were just like kind of going back and forth with like, what are ideas that could generate like millions of dollars in profit very quickly? And I realized like there aren't that many of those ideas.
That's what all the business people are actually thinking about.
Otherwise,
that's how most people think about this shit, John. That's the problem that we have.
I was just like, man, we have got to like, we've got it. We need like immediately. Like this can't wait. Like,
yeah.
Like I was suddenly on a quarterly model where like I need this by Q1.
Okay, so we've got a lot of people who are saying that is a thing that you can get done on the internet. Of course, it's a thing you can get done on the internet.
Right. The idea is to like get it done in person quickly.
Yeah, and I can see, but I can like see which frame I'm buying and see it with like sample photos inside. And then like, yeah, you can get like the crappy like Michael's frame, but this would be like nicer. And also like a bunch of different ones that are a bunch of different styles. And it prints your photo out in high quality for you right in front of you.
I don't know that it's a great idea. I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's like I think it's like an idea. I don't know. We need millions of dollars immediately. Like I can't go into malls. I can't build a. We need it now.
Yeah.
There's no time to open kiosks. These have to be internet-based businesses that launch tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Apparently it's a thing in Belgium already.
Oh. It's big in Belgium.
What if we bought a bunch of companies that were
Warren wants us to make DFTBA brewery real, which based on my friends who run breweries is no way to get rich.
Yeah, no. I think people do fine at people do fine at breweries, but they don't. It's a lot of work. I mean, any kind of you're basically running a restaurant, and that's work, man.
Oh God, it's so much HR.
So much HR. Yes.
Tom suggests asking a billionaire, which believe me, I will be.
All the billionaires we know are gonna get emails
or calls, even. Yeah. A guy says cryptocurrency is a guaranteed fast investment.
Yeah, I mean it's fast to buy it.
Yep, that roller coaster only goes up.
Here's what we need to do, John. We need to create a cryptocurrency, manipulate the market, and sell at the top.
Sell it to Tom. Right. Create. Yes. Yes. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else have $1 million ideas? we got 5 minutes left, so if there's any idea generation, that would be cool.
We need so like what I think that we should sell really expensive zines.
I mean, that's not a great idea, but I think it will do okay. And I think we have a built-in infrastructure to sell them, and so we can't lose money doing it, which is great.
Yeah, you literally can't lose money on zines. They're not expensive to create.
Right, that's the point of zines. Caleb says everybody wants DFTBA Brewery to be real. So the problem, Caleb, we actually looked into this. The big problem is that it's pretty difficult to ship beer.
Yes.
That's the end of the sentence.
Yeah, it turns out it's very hard to ship beer. And in fact, there are both rules and practicalities that make it difficult to ship beer.
Correct. Aaron suggests NerdCon, which is no way to make money.
Boy, yeah, I know one way to lose a bunch of money.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could make the tickets to NerdCon Nerdfighteria like 10 grand.
Yeah.
And then, like, we couldn't lose, like, it'd just be like, make a $10,000 donation to Partners in Health and you can come to this conference in Boston.
Mm-hmm. What we need is a bunch of people who are really good at starting businesses and don't mind working for free.
Ariel, we also love NerdCon. That's why we did it, even though it lost money, because it was amazing. It was wonderful.
NerdCon Nerdfighteria only lost like $45. We got really close.
Is that a real number? That's amazing.
We may have. It may be that we lost like 200 or something, but yeah, it was
so great.
Basically, a 0% profit margin for that.
Mandy suggests a Nerd Fire Festival, which is a very good idea. Con people out of money.
I mean, it didn't occur to me. It's like I'm okay stealing from people as long as they suck and we're doing good things with it.
Yeah, the big downside would be the prison time.
Right.
Like right. I think you're a great person, but I don't think you'd do well in prison.
I think I'd do okay in prison. I don't want to do it though.
I strongly think that you would not do great.
I like this Nerd Festival.
With a Prizio campaign for some great experience with you both. We will do that. We will do that. We will do we'll build like a site where you can, donate and everything. Maybe a Patreon.
Coffee table book. Coffee table book
could do okay.
Royalty-free images of Mars for your coffee table.
That's a pretty good idea, actually. I mean, the problem with that is it going to sell 10,000 copies?
Right. You can, yeah. Like we can, if we're only reaching the people who we are reaching, like there is only so much money there.
Right.
So,
most of you guys aren't
side of the community.
Most of you guys aren't billionaires, which is why we really, really appreciate your support on Patreon. Yeah. But we also understand that you're not like sitting there thinking like, what am I going to do with this $100,000?
Right.
If you are, I would love to pitch you on radically reducing maternal mortality in Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
All right. Couple things that we need to go before we could maybe recruit YouTubers. We're going to reach out to some YouTubers.
YouTubers also don't have that much money, it turns out. It's like not a great way to get rich.
Or if they do have a lot of money, they usually have their own kind of charitable interest. I mean, the thing is, like, ultimately, we need to reach the people who are interested or can be made interested in global health. And I think a lot of YouTubers, they raise money for causes that are important to them, but like that, that isn't always like reducing maternal mortality. It may be a different cause that's important to them. Yeah. So a couple things before we get to, before we leave. Hank, will you tell us a little story of your experience that the summer your family had season passes to Disney World? When I went to the Hall of Presidents over and over again.
I loved that very much. I had a great time, and I eventually you start to like see the see sort of the complexity of it, like that is sitting behind the curtain, and like that was very interesting to me to like get a better idea of like, you know, where were they asking you not to go and how did they tell you that? And even as a kid, I was just very curious about like the areas that were just beyond where you were supposed to go. I also got a hernia walking around Disney World because we walked so much that
I remember that.
and then like I was like, "Ow, daddy, it hurts." And dad took me to the bathroom and he looked and he was like, "Oh, yeah, that's your
That's a
intestines.
hernia.
Yeah, your intestines are coming out of your body."
It's great. Ariel suggests that we do a jewelry heist, which has a certain metaphorical resonance since the rich world has stolen billions and billions of dollars from Sierra Leone's diamond mines, and so there would be a certain poetic justice about returning some of that money in the form of jewelry heists.
So maybe we have a diamond diamond ring off where people are like, "I'm gonna get rid of my diamond. I'm gonna send it to those Vlog brothers, and they're gonna turn it into money. You can just get a new ring that doesn't have a diamond in it."
Not a bad idea. Somebody suggested a Mother's Day campaign, which is great, except we're not going to be ready to launch this by May 12th. But it is a good idea. A couple last things. John, any thoughts on Eric Samuelson retiring as AFC Wimbledon CEO? I spoke to Eric this morning.
Oh.
I cried speaking to him, and I think he might have choked up, but he's very British, so I couldn't tell for sure. I admire Eric so much. Look, here's what I admire about him. 12 years ago, he took the job of AFC Wimbledon. He's been paid £1 a year for that entire time. And as a model of how you live your life, if you are fortunate enough to be in a position to retire early, as someone who has modeled for me how you live a life of purpose, how you value your family while also valuing something that matters to your community. He's been an incredibly important person in my life. Really, he really has been, and a friend and mentor to me, which I appreciate very much. Years ago, I saw someone on Twitter say that Eric Samuelson was AFC Wimbledon's best ever signing. And that I really believe that that's true. I don't think the club would be where they are without Eric, and without the fact that he worked for free for 12 years. And so I said that to him when we spoke on the phone, and he said, if that's the case, I wonder why no one ever came in for my if that's the case, I wonder why no one ever came in asking for me to transfer to them. And I said, maybe they couldn't afford your salary. And that is when I thought I heard him choke up. But he's just an incredible person, a true gentleman, and someone, you know, like I said to Rosianna this morning, like, I want to be Eric Samuelson when I grow up. So I'm very grateful to him.
Is he looking for a new job running mall kiosks businesses?
Yes, Hank, I'm sure. Yes, that's exactly what he's looking to get into.
The couple that runs all the car washes in Montana is going to prison for tax evasion, so those are open.
Do they have any money? Can we pitch them on Sierra Leone?
I think they've got some things to deal with right now in the short term.
All right, I'll think about it. Anybody? Yeah. Anybody knows any billionaires? Send them our way. sparksflip@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And Mandy points out something very important, which is that YouTubers may not have money, but they do have audiences, which is true. And we do need to try to work. If there are people who are like interested in this kind of work, I think we do need to reach out to them and try to, get them to join our community in this, because I think it's going to be hard for our community to do it alone. That said, I have learned to never underestimate Nerdfighteria, and the need is immediate and acute. And I really believe that like we can have a transformative effect. I think that we don't think of it as a 20,000 or 30,000 women are going to die in childbirth in Sierra Leone this year. But it is a crisis. It's just a crisis that has been unfolding for many years, and so it doesn't seem like a crisis. But I think we need to respond to it the way that we would respond to an emergency. And yes, there are other emergencies. Yes, there are other important causes, but like this is going to be the one for me in my life. So yeah, thank you for listening and supporting us, and just in general for being awesome. And we'll see you next time.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.